Assalamu alaikum. I am Zahirul Islam Shahab, and today I am with Professor Dr. Jeffrey Wimmer from Germany. He is a well-known social and communication scientist. He is a professor of media reality at the University of Augsburg, and he is a well-known researcher, having published bundles of articles and research papers. His main area of interest is media transformations, national, international, and transnational communication. Besides this, he is also taking keen interest in digital communication, especially the virtual area and the virtual world. He is also interested in communication theories and media theories. He has remained chairman and vice chairman of the section Communication and Democracy in ECREA. Doctor, welcome to Pakistan.
Thank you very much for having me here. Thank you.
How are you feeling today?
Very good. Nice weather.
Is it your first visit to Pakistan?
Yes. I've been to India 25 years ago. I've been to Indonesia by my first time to Pakistan.
How did you find Pakistan? Is it a peaceful country, or is it what the Indian and most of the Western media portray?
I would say it's worth a visit. It's very interesting, and it's very worthwhile because it's so diverse in Pakistan. You have a lot of different nature. You have mountains, flat areas. You have the coast, so it's very, very interesting.
Which aspect of Pakistani culture did you like the most, and which one you found troublesome?
I think everything very interesting because it's so it's a mixture or blend of so different aspects. So in one side you are very modern, you use well and a lot the mobile phone and the digital applications. You have a lot of huge traffic at the same time going out of the city limits of Lahore. You see different other aspects of the country, and I think this is, for me, coming from Germany, very interesting that it's so diverse, to put it in this way.
What about Pakistani food? How is it different from German food?
So, the first week I tried not to eat that spicy food. This is, for me, being a Westerner, of course, the spiciness is really different.
Yeah.
I like it very much because it's, if you, especially for example, the naan or the bread, and so each city, each village, even each region has its own bread, and so you think you know it, but you are confronted with a totally new taste. This is very interesting.
Let's have some academic gossip. Professor, who is a media literate person? Is there any specific or nearly specific standard upon which we may declare someone either media literate or media illiterate?
So first of all, I would not say yes or no. So avoid dichotomies, not to say it is literate, it's not. I always tell my students or the students in the workshops, you have to find your own way to get along with the complexity of the media. And there are several ways to get to it. So it's not one way. But nevertheless, having said that, of course, there are some things which makes a person literate. And in literature and science, we differentiate 4 dimensions. Something is media knowledge, how to know how media works. With the workshops, we went to a TV station, and then we saw what is behind the curtain, what is behind the camera. If you get this impression, you're literate, because you know, it's kind of like a theater. It's the front stage, it's not the backstage. You have to be aware of that. And this is especially important at the age and in the age of social media, that some people take for granted what they see. And then you should be suspicious. That's the second dimension, what we call critical literacy. You should think about what are the intentions of people that's sending around those messages. We do not call it fake news in science. We call it misinformation or disinformation. People want to disinform you to get their political agenda through, for example. So then a third dimension of literacy means, are you able to interact with the media? That means, are you able to do your own films, to do your own pictures, or you're only a passive user? And then the fourth would be, do you have knowledge about the media system? Do you know what are the actors, how media act, what are the platforms behind WhatsApp, Facebook, how they interchange and so on? You see, it's very getting complicated, even in digital times, even more.
Yeah, I very agree with you. Tell us something about media's impact. Is it really leading us to existential and identity crisis?
The term crisis is coming from the old Greek, and it means not crisis, it means change that has also or could have a positive thing. So crisis always means open-ended.
Yeah.
And that's why media has a lot of power, but it's always depends on the people that is receiving it. So when we want to, when we are not paying attention to, then media has a power. But it's upon us whether we let it go and say, of course, or we'll a little bit have a distance to it. So media has a great power, depends on us how we use it. So from my perspective, it's more interesting how much power we have upon media, using media, acting through media.
Okay.
So then it's more a chance than a crisis, I would say.
Yeah. How our digital practices are linked with our political participation? Is the social media a tool of democracy, or is it paving way for digital dictatorship?
It can have both. And depends, the same is true for media literacy, which kind of practices we do. And there's a wide range of practices. But mostly, if you look on Facebook or you look on Twitter or on Twitch and all the other platforms, it is mostly used in a very passive way.
Yeah.
Waiting for the answers, looking through, taking a photo, putting up. But you can much more. There are a lot of examples for that. Using it for political mobilization, using it for enlightenment and other ways. So it's always depending what kind of practices you are fulfilling. And then it has opportunities or challenges or also threats. So it's not automatically. And of course, now the media are more complex than ever before. And because of the affordances of the platforms, it gives a direction. So media are not totally open to everything. Now, like all the social media, commercial media, they want you to be passive. They want to be a consumer. And you should break out of the road to be an active consumer, what we call in science prosumer. Yeah. That means a mixture between consuming and producing.
How do you think the media business model should change in order to avoid fake news and fake information?
I don't know exactly how the situation in Pakistan is. I don't know that much. I can only tell for the German example that now journalism is struggling and is doing really hard to produce, to be paid for positive news. That's something also I heard that some Pakistan media journalists are bringing out a positive news website. And I think the business model now has to be changed, because business model pays for negative news. The more negative, the more clickbait you get. And say, oh, there's corruption was, or there had been an accident and so on, then people will click. And I think it's also part of the problem that the journalism did focus so much on negative news, and so they created a problem they face right now, unfortunately.
Exactly. Tell us about virtual reality. Is there something very basic related with it which people still don't understand?
Yeah, virtual reality and also augmented reality, they are new media technology at the first thing, which offers new functions and quality for the user. So augmented reality, a good example is Pokemon Go, which add on a second level of experience. You see through your eyes, then you have the smart glasses on, and something is added to your view. I would see to you and see different person. And this is something completely different to the media we used before. And virtual reality is even a step further, because you wear Google helmet, and then you are transported into virtual reality, and you don't see the other things where you have been. And this brings a third dimension to your experiences. And now it's only used for entertainment purposes or for some marketing, but probably in 10 to 20 years it will be very cheap, so like mobile phones now, and then we have different media realities out there.
How can virtual reality improve online learning?
It can improve in several ways. For example, now you have, you chat via Skype, you see the person. In virtual reality, you can move around. And then I think not only moving around, or even then with virtual reality, advanced technology, you can even virtual touch the person. And then you have more channels to communicate. And you know from science, the more channels you can use, the better, or the chances better that you can really communicate and have a dialogue.
Do you think that the video games led us to increased aggression and therefore should be banned?
No, not at all. Of course, you have the same problem with traditional media, that only content with violence and so work better than other content, but it's totally upon the literacy of the people, how they can embed it in their virtual life, after the competency to understand that's only a game and not a real thing. And then all the games are the same. So it's, if you see a cricket player and you think, oh, he's a brave man, you always think, oh, in real life he's also brave. No, not at all. He is a player and not the different things. And I think I have a trust to the audience that they can understand, if they shoot somebody in a game, that's a game and that's not real life.
The title of one of your past presentations is You Are What You See. How will you justify this statement?
It's something I always compare media usage to eating habits. So how do you care about your meal? It's the same, how do you care about your media diet? So if you are into food and something else, you take care that you have only good ingredients, that you slowly cook it, that you smell it. And I think this is the same we should do more with the media. We should take care what sources we are using, what media we are using. And then you see automatically, Facebook is like a huge grocery store that's not a specialist. And it's for free. Do you get fine food that is for free? No. You pay a lot if you go to a very good restaurant. And so that's why I like this metaphor, to compare your media. And without media, we are no social persons anymore. That's why we have to take care.
Where do you see the position of religion in the next century? Do you think that it will be replaced, like all the conventional religions will be replaced by new religions like Dataism or things like these?
It's a very good question. I cannot answer on my own because I'm media and communication and science. But I would say, like all domains of our everyday life, is changing and transforming. Also our religious practices are transforming. For example, being a Catholic during COVID times, it was possible to virtually attend a Christian Mass. So it transformed. And everything transformed. It has also an impact on its identity and its meaning. So that's why every branch of our society, even religion, will change. And it's open question in what it will transform.
Yeah, exactly. I think it is a hot topic in the academia. We see that the infotech and the biotech are going to merge. What do you think will be its impact on human civilization?
It will transform us, and we are other humans than our grandparents or even the grandparents of our grandparents. They're so totally different. And I like the idea of posthumanism. I think we will more and more leave our natural foundations behind and will be more and more virtually. Even now the youth is more aware of, virtual worlds like Star Wars or Harry Potter than their cultural heritage. And this process will even speed up.
We see that the world has been further polarized as a result of digital divide. Do you think that underdeveloped countries which don't have enough technological advancement will be able to survive without that advancement?
That's two different things you're speaking about. So one is, I even see in countries of the global south with poor resources that they are using mobile phones and so on, and they always find a way to get along on a personal level, interpersonal level. The question would be if they're able to build up own industries in that, and they are not staying in the position that they only give resources to others. This is the main question. This is a political question. This question of giving the aids. And the other thing, the polarization is, I'm a very optimistic person that I see in the countries of the global south. They are not that polarized, probably, like the so-called first world countries. So if you look to United States, if you look to Russia, they are very polarized.
Exactly.
And so on. So it's not the matter of technology itself, it's more the matter how is it used and how is it used by the rules, by the power authorities.
Power belongs to those who have the tool of propaganda. Do you agree?
It's not, it's a question, we said this in the 50s and 60s of the last century. Now propaganda is more and more diversified. And also the ways of avoid propaganda. Nowadays it's very hard for a country, if a country wants to do so, or the governor of the country, to give propaganda to the people. Now the audience and a lot of ways to gather other information. So if you give disinformation, you have much more sources and ways to get other information. So I think through the internet, through the trans-global networks, they are now more and more coming. Propaganda has less power than ever.
And the last question, would you like to visit Pakistan again?
Of course. It's I said it before, it's
So you are happy with your experience?
I've only seen one small portion of Pakistan. I would like to go to the big cities like Islamabad or to Karachi and go to the coast, but I'm even more interested in going to the mountains.
We have very beautiful mountains there in Shangla Valley and in Sawat. So I'll invite you there, and I hope that you will have a great time there.
Thank you. Looking forward.
Thank you very much for your time. It was great seeing you. Thank you.
Thank you very much for having me here.